Romana's departure from the show, for me, has always felt unusual. I understand that she was ready to part ways with the Doctor, but choosing to remain in a universe where they can never see each other again, that feels a bit excessive. Today, we're going to be diving into the unmade story, Sealed Orders, and explore how its behind-the-scenes drama might be a little bit more interesting than the story itself. The Doctor receives an unthinkable command from the Time Lords: kill Romana. The TARDIS lands on Gallifrey, where the Doctor reunites with his old friend Leela. But it's not the only familiar face. He also bumps into himself. Something is desperately wrong on Gallifrey, a time paradox, the TARDIS landing inside itself, and it all leads to the other Doctor dying. By the end of it, Romana decides to leave the Doctor once and for all. When script editor Douglas Adams was planning season 18 in 1979, he approached accomplished novelist Christopher Priest. Priest is best known for writing the novel The Prestige, which Christopher Nolan adapted into a film in 2006. Priest claimed that Adams was looking for real science fiction writers to get involved with the show. Although Priest wasn't a fan of the series and had never written a screenplay before, he was excited about the challenge of working on Doctor Who. He said in a 1995 interview with SFX magazine, "The program is a challenge to a writer, a tiny budget, a more or less fixed cast of characters, a fairly inflexible storyline, and millions of fans who will beat the out of you if you overlook a crucial fact mentioned in an undertone by a minor character in the second part of a story first transmitted in 1968. Priest submitted a story outline titled Sealed Orders. It would have been the final story to feature the second incarnation of Romana. Priest created a scene breakdown on the 27th of February, which was approved, and from there, he was commissioned to write the full 4 scripts by the 24th of March. When Douglas Adams stepped down as script editor after season 17, Christopher H. Bidmead replaced him to helm season 18. Priest claimed that his storyline was approved and commissioned, but ultimately dropped due to changes in script editor and producer. Early outlines of the story involved the return of previous companions, such as Elizabeth Sladen's Sarah Jane Smith or Louise Jameson's Leela. Since Bidmead was an admirer of Priest's books, he was willing to coach him on writing for screen. Bidmead loved the concepts Priest had written for Sealed Orders, but quickly realised it was clearly the work of a novelist, not a screenwriter. Many scenes wouldn't translate to camera, and Bidmead requested changes. This created friction between the two, leading Priest to withdraw from the project. Eventually, Sealed Orders was cancelled and replaced with Warrior's Gate. Producer John Nathan Turner and Christopher H. Bidmead still liked the idea of enlisting Priest's talents and commissioned another 4-part serial titled The Enemy Within. It was about a powerful creature that lived in the heart of the TARDIS, serving as the ship's source of power and the Doctor's deepest fear. All 4 episodes were delivered to the BBC on the 6th of February 1981. But, once again, the show changed script editors, with Bidmead leaving and being temporarily replaced by Anthony Root, then Eric Sayward. Communication issues began to arise. As Priest submitted each script, he asked if they were approved and up to standard. Receiving no notes, he assumed everything was fine and continued submitting his drafts. After delivering the final episode, he didn't hear back for several days, until producer John Nathan Turner called him, asking when he would come into the office to discuss script alterations. At this point, Priest was confused, having been under the impression that the scripts had been approved. He said that he assumed that he didn't need to come in. Priest claimed that Nathan Turner flew into a fit of rage, saying that he never approved any of the scripts, and so they were completely unworkable in their current state, and he would not be paid for his work. This made matters worse, as Priest went to the Writers Guild to make a formal complaint. Priest was commissioned and was entitled to be paid for his work even if the team decided not to produce the story. He was eventually paid in full for his work. Years later, Priest caught wind of a correspondence between a fan and the production office. The fan had asked why science fiction novelists weren't hired to write for Doctor Who, and the fan cited Priest as an example. Eric Sayward, in his response to the fan, referred to his negative experience working with a particular novelist, saying, "The names of the writers you quote are novelists. In fact, one of them has attempted to write a Doctor Who script with disastrous results. That is why we do not use novelists." Priest complained to the head of series and serials at the BBC and received a letter of apology from Nathan Turner and Eric Sayward. I think Romana returning to Gallifrey fits her character much better than her original on-screen exit. In the expanded universe, Romana returns to our universe and becomes President of Gallifrey. I like that ending for her. It feels more appropriate. I wish it was something that the TV show would delve into, if they could manage to keep Gallifrey around for longer than 5 minutes. Yet the idea of the Doctor acting mysterious and evil on Gallifrey was something that was already done during the Invasion of Time. So it feels like we're just retreading old ground. The story on its own does sound interesting though, but it could potentially be bogged down on too much hard science fiction, which isn't the reason why I love Doctor Who. Christopher H. Bidmead's idea of Doctor Who is a lot colder and science-based compared to the other eras of Doctor Who, and it's just not exactly my cup of tea. Yet this story is about time paradoxes and multiple TARDISes and Doctors, which could have been really interesting and unusual. I also admire the attempt at asking a successful novelist to contribute to the show, but there is a big difference between writing novels and writing a screenplay, which clearly became an issue here. It's hard to imagine how Sarah Jane Smith could have gotten involved with this storyline, but Leela makes a lot more sense, since she was left behind on Gallifrey at the end of the Invasion of Time. It would have been interesting to have seen what she had gotten up to since leaving the Doctor, but the expanded universe has, of course, covered Leela's life on Gallifrey at Big Finish. For Priest's second script contribution, The Enemy Within, the idea of a creature that lives in the halls of the TARDIS is a spooky idea. It's a concept that Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS kind of explores, this idea of a menace within the ship, but the storyline is quite different. I think if I were to compare The Enemy Within with another story in the series, it would probably be The Edge of Destruction. And it would be interesting to see the Fifth Doctor be afraid of something. I think once the Doctor is afraid, who is usually brave in every scenario, you know something serious is going on. I would have liked to have seen this concept developed further. Both stories had their scripts fully produced, and I couldn't find any evidence that indicated that they were copies of them floating around, but I don't know if they've been destroyed either. It would be interesting if they saw the light of day eventually. Who knows? Maybe they exist, just waiting for Big Finish to adapt them. Sadly, Christopher Priest passed away in February of 2024, and with his negative experience on Doctor Who, I'd be surprised if his estate would grant the license to produce them. Sometimes it's nice to hear about these stories in passing and think how interesting they are, but sometimes they don't need to be explored further than that. The production history behind it seems like a sore spot for all involved. So maybe leaving it in the past is the right thing to do. So, what do you think of these two stories? Would you have preferred Sealed Orders or The Enemy Within to be made? Let me know in the comment section below. Okay. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Josh Nez YouTube channel.